friends, it's Rev Chef Beth Love in the Taste Like Love kitchen, and today we're going to make cultured cashew cream. It's a yummy, soothing, very creamy, dreamy, and also probiotic rich dairy-like substance that you can eat without guilt, because no animals were hurt in the production of the cashews, and because it won't hurt you, because there's much less saturated fat in it than there is in dairy cheese. There's zero cholesterol. There's zero casein, which is a very toxic protein, dairy protein, casein, that's not only toxic but also very addictive. And so you can eat it without guilt. You can use it to make yogurt. You can use it to use for like a sour cream substitute, a cream cheese substitute, or a cheese substitute. And you're going to learn how to do it right now in the Taste Like Love kitchen. So first of all, you need some cashews. Now I soak these for about 24 hours because if they're soaked for a good long time like that, then they're much softer and easier to process. Okay, so I just soaked them in enough water to like over twice their volume of water, and I'm going to just go ahead and drain them quickly. Very simple recipe. And then I'll put them in this blender. Now I'm going to blend off screen today because the blender that I want to use is made in Europe, and I have only one spot where I can plug it in that works. So I'm going to use this today because I think it'll be a little faster. I also sometimes make it just to demonstrate. You don't need fancy equipment. I have a used blender some of you have probably seen that someone gave to me after many years of use, and I've had it for many years, and it was probably originally purchased for $19.99 or something, a regular Oster blender with a glass container. That's one of the reasons I like it, and I can put it right here. And but it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little more babying, so this is going to go a little bit more quickly, right? And I also have a Vitamix that I could have put here, but I'm not that fond of Vitamix. Partly it's the plastic container, I must admit. Any of you that know me know that I'm on a mission to get people to use as little plastic as possible in and around their food. Okay, so we're going to add some water. Now, this is 2 cups. This was 2 cups of cashews measured before soaking. And for that, if you want something like a cheese texture, or, you know, if you're going for a cream cheese texture, you know, put in a cup plus 2 tablespoons of water. And when you're making nut cheeses, unlike dairy cheese, the whey and the curds will separate out. With nut cheeses, whatever excess water you put in has to come out some way, or it has to be thickened with some kind of thickener or something. But this is going to be like an artisanal cheese. It doesn't have thickener. It doesn't have mouthfeel agents. It doesn't have any chemicals of any kind. It's cashews and water. And if you're making it into a cheese, you can add a little bit of nutritional yeast. You can add salt if you're using it, or my recommendation if you are using salt is use miso, because it has more flavor for less sodium, and it also adds to the probiotics. You can use a very light miso like a garbanzo bean miso. Today I'm going to add a little extra water because I'm doing a demo and I want it to go more quickly. And then we're going to blend it up. So I'm going to go put it on my blender. We're going to blend it up. It's going to make a little bit of noise, but I'll come back and talk to you about the rest of the equipment that's needed. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm putting it on the blender, and just remembering a very essential piece of equipment I'm missing, but I'll be right back. Okay. I don't know if you can hear me while I'm blending. I'm not sure. I might have to do a part 2. Anyway, I'll talk really loudly. Here is one of the things I use as a cooler. I use jars, regular mason jars. I use jars of different kinds, and I use hot water. Not sure you can hear me with all that noise. This might not have been a good idea. I never know. Okay, so we're going to have fun anyway, right? So I've got a jar, I've got a pot of hot water. You want to keep it warm. So we're letting that get good and creamy. I'm going to go check it. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm checking this. Oh, it's close. It's very close, actually. actually. It's almost creamy enough. I'm just going to get a little tiny bit more. I hope you can hear me. Okay, I may rethink this demo. I may need to do it again with a quieter blender. So, here we go. It's nice and creamy. It turned out really nice and creamy. I'm just going to pour it in this jar. This is the method I use. You need to put it in some kind of a container, non-reactive, like a glass container or crock, and get it as smooth as you can. This could have gotten a little smoother if I hadn't been so concerned about the noise, but get it as smooth as you can. Use your climate-saving silicone spatula to get out as much as you can. It took inputs to grow these cashews. It took water, it took land, it released some greenhouse gases, though tree nuts, actually they sequester so much carbon that they're almost kind of doing their own carbon offset. But still, there's greenhouse gases produced for any food. Of course, animal products way more than plant products. I'll scrape this out a little better later. It's pretty delicious right now, and I'm realizing I forgot a really important ingredient. So there's really only 3 ingredients. Okay, we've got the cashews, we've got the water, and now I'm going to add some probiotic starter, okay? I like to leave this in the fridge and bring it out at the last minute because I don't want it to be in the warm room for very long. I need to keep the little probiotics alive. So you can do a wild culture. You can just leave this in a warm place and it will make a potentially really, really delicious cream cheese, and you don't know what it's going to be like because it's going to be a wild culture. It's going to be whatever's in your room. I've done that before. I used to do that regularly for cream cheese, and most of the time it turned out so delicious, and sometimes extremely delicious, but every once in a while I had a funky batch. And so I'm not highly recommending it because of the potential waste, but you can use, like I use a probiotic supplement. I get Mega Flora by Mega Foods. It's kind of hard to get that in the right light for you to see it, but it's Mega Food, Mega Flora. Can't get it in the right light. And I just break open 1 or 2 capsules in there. You can also use a little bit of liquid out of sauerkraut, live fermented sauerkraut that you made yourself or that you bought at the store. You can use Rejuvelac, which is kind of a long process to make Rejuvelac, but that's another option. And then you just want to give it a stir. Now, if I had remembered, I would have put it in at the end in the blender. I'm going to get out that capsule. And you just stir it in. That's fine too. Or you can put it in the blender at the end. I wouldn't blend it a long time. You don't want it to get over warm. And then, actually, I'm going to use my spatula for this. It's really delicious just the way it is. You can use it this way. A lot of recipes for cheeses and cheesy sauces, they use cashew cream like this, and they just add lemon juice and nutritional yeast and things like that for flavor. But if you let the bacteria create the flavor, it's really, really much better, and it's so much better to, for your microbiome. Not that the other one is bad for your microbiome. It isn't at all. Cashews and all nuts and all plant foods have some fiber in them, which is what your microbiome wants. But to add that extra probiotic just by letting those bacteria do their thing makes it really special. So I'm going to cover this with a nut milk bag. You could also cover it with some cheesecloth or one of those mesh bags that you can buy produce in. And I'm just going to cover it up. It's got to breathe. You might have noticed the jar is not full. You want to leave some headspace because it will ferment, and in the fermentation process, air bubbles will build up in it, and it will grow. The amount of it will get bigger looking. It's the same amount once the air bubbles go out later. But I did once have a jar just like ferment so well that it flowed over in the incubator. You can put it in a warm place, really just some place that will remain consistently warm. I use an ice chest because it's insulated, so it can keep things warm as well as, sorry about that. So I just put it in the ice chest, and then to keep the ice chest warm as long as possible, I put in some additional hot water. I just boiled this before I started the live broadcast. So I'm putting this jar of really hot water in there. And I'm just going to cover it up. Be sure to use a 2-part lid when you're doing this, otherwise it's really hard to get the lid off of the jar once the boiling water shrinks and creates a vacuum seal. So, you want to put a 2-part lid. Just tucking that down in there. And then I'll do this one. So I use this as a base for desserts. I use it for, like I said, you can use it for yogurt. You don't have to be so concerned about the amount of water. You can use it just as is as yogurt. If I'm doing cream cheese, I use or regular kind of semi-soft cheese that I want to cut. I will put a little bit of nutritional yeast in it, and then after it's cultured, I may add seasonings like herbs or chives or dried tomatoes. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill it. Ooh, I think I'm thinking of another one that will fit some more bottles. I think that's it for this one. Let me see if I can do this one. Yeah, this one is kind of skinny, so I'll put one more in. So I just try to fill as much of the space in the ice chest as possible with warm bottles of hot water so that it'll stay warm. And I culture it. If I want it kind of very well cultured, tangy and stuff, I usually let it go 22 hours. If I want it if I want it a little sweeter, like for cream cheese, I will just go maybe 12 to 16 hours. I'm going to get some towels because I like to just stuff up the cracks. So I'm going to just stick these in all the cracks. Some clean dish towels. Don't use dirty ones. You don't want to introduce funky bacteria to your incubator. So I'm just stuffing those in the cracks. And, oops, I could have showed it to you first. What was I thinking? Okay, so there we go. Just stuffing these in the cracks. And then I'll cover it with one more. And there you go. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? It's not that big a deal. I mean, you can make whole plant foods so easily. You can do it really fancy. I've been known to do some fancy stuff. I'm sure if you know me, you know I've been known to do some fancy stuff. But you can do things that are really simple, really easy, but have really great results. If you're working with whole plant food ingredients, if you're working with good ingredients, you can't go wrong, especially if you bring the right energy. I always talk about the energy. So then you want to close it up. And there you go. I'm just going to put that on my counter. I'm going to leave it to sit for 22 hours. 20 or 22 hours. About tomorrow morning at some point I'll open it up. And it's going to have this delicious fragrance. And it's going to be so tasty. Now occasionally, especially since I stopped using salt, I used to use salt in it. Not in the yogurt. But since I stopped using salt, occasionally I get some yeast growing on the surface. So I don't mind. I just scrape it off, and because it doesn't taste very good, but I scrape it off, and then the rest of it tastes perfectly good. The other thing about the cheese is that it will continue to the probiotics are going to be alive when you put them in the fridge, right? They're going to slow down, but it's going to continue to ferment. It's going to continue to culture. So it will get richer and deeper and more mellow and sometimes more sharp. It'll change over time. Now you don't want to cook with this. It's really nice if you do some warm food and then you pour it over it, or if you've removed some of the liquid, which I teach about in my cheese classes. There's not time in this demo to teach kind of how to make it into a sliceable cheese, but if you have a sliceable cheese, or if you have the more creamy version, you can put it on some warm food and it warms up and it gets kind of melty, but you don't want to heat it because you'll kill those probiotics. So finally, I just want to say that I love to teach people about whole food, plant-based lifestyle. I love to support people to go all the way to whole food, plant-based if they're willing. But even if they're not, I love to support people to eat more plants and less animal products. That's why I started an organization called Eat for the Earth, which helps people to eat in a way that's environmentally sustainable. And sometimes people think they're eating environmentally sustainable animal products, but really the only way to truly do sustainable animal products is to reduce the portion in your diet significantly, unless sustainability to you means just your own self and your own family or your own country. Because if we're going to have a world in which everybody can eat, and if we're going to rein in our climate crisis so that we can keep living here for our generation and the next generation and the generation after that, et cetera, then we need to reduce the amount of animal products that are grown on the earth, period. And there's no production tweaks. There's all this energy and information and money, et cetera, associated with, feeding cows seaweed or rotational grazing, or all these different techniques to, on the production side, attempt to rein in the environmental destructiveness of an industry that is just inherently destructive of the earth. One of the leading causes of almost every environmental issue that we are facing. There's all these attempts to bring that production side in, but the studies are clear that even with all of those measures put in place, unless we also change human diets, especially those in the developed world, in places that eat like the United States where I live, if we don't really reduce the amount of animal products we're eating, then we're not going to make it as a species. We're on a course for destruction of the habitability of our earth. We're not going to destroy the earth. The earth will recover, but whether or not it will recover in such a fashion that we can keep living here is a big unknown. So, and the other non-human animals with whom we share the planet, which they're losing habitat, species loss, all of these issues, and animal agriculture and the way that it encroaches on the spaces of the wild world, and that it uses far more resources than its fair share, land, water, fertilizer inputs, etc., that it's causing ocean dead zones. All of these issues, we must reduce our dietary consumption of animal products to be able to be decent world citizens. And so I'm here to support you in whichever path you choose, whether it's a reductionist or a reducitarian approach, or flexitarian, or going all the way to plant-based, whether it's vegan and you want to eat the vegan junk food, or whether it's whole food plant-based, which I think is the most environmentally sustainable. I know it's the most environmentally sustainable and also the most nutritious diet for the human body. I'm here to support you, and I'd love to have you in my classes. So check out the link that I put in the post. And sorry about the loud blender. Someday I'll figure out how to make a quieter blender. But just remember that whatever you're doing, whether it's making food, whether it's being out in your garden, tending to children, doing your essential work in the world, or sitting behind your computer at a Zoom meeting, whatever it is that you're doing, remember to be intentional about the energy that you bring to that endeavor. Because whatever it is that we bring is what we're going to experience and what those around us are going to experience. Because the energy that we imprint on anything is palpable. It can be felt. It can be perceived in the process and in the product. And so that's why when I'm in the Taste Like Love kitchen, or when I'm making food anywhere, I always want to bring the energy of love, because I want to make sure that the food tastes like love. So until next time, it's Rev Chef Beth signing off in the Taste Like Love kitchen. Take care.